Hello friends and welcome to my channel. Today's episode has 11 cute, not creepy Halloween crafts to try out this season. I hope they will inspire you, and don't forget that today is the DIY challenge. There is a playlist that is linked down below in my description box so you can check out all the other people contributing to the playlist. I want to give a special thanks to everyone participating today. Alright, now let's get crafting. For this project, we are going to be using 3 different fabrics, orange, yellow, and white, 3 sticks from the Dollar Tree, 3 of these foam cones, and 2 wood stars. To start, we're going to go ahead and fill those wood holes that were drilled out from the twine that was able to hang up the star. We're going to fill those in with some wood filler from the Dollar Tree, and then we're going to slowly, with the right size that you need for your dowel sticks that we're going to be putting into this, we're going to drill out 2 holes. Make sure you don't go through your craft table because that would just be terrible. And I'm going to add in some wood glue as well as some hot glue. Now I found wood glue at the Dollar Tree, which was really exciting. So look in your craft section to see if you can find some in your store. And then I'm going to just put these 2 dowel sticks down inside of there and hold them until they nice and straightly glued hot in place. Then what we're going to do is we're going to take that 3rd stick and we're going to put it into the top cone and then into the bottom cone to create a taller tree, because we're going to create 2 different heights of this tree that we're making, this candy corn tree. And once you've got those nice and dried, you're going to go ahead and move on to your fabric. So I'm going to create a slit at the top and then just rip it all the way down. I love how it has this rough edge to it. It gives it that farmhouse look for the fall and Halloween time. I am not a big fan of the creepy side of Halloween. I've said that before here on my channel. I like the more whimsical side of the cute pumpkin faces and the friendly witch and the cute cat and candy corn, pumpkins, all of that stuff. I'm not into the blood and the gore. Ooh, that's just not my thing. But I thought this would be a cute project for anyone who is along that same wavelength of thinking as me, or you can also turn it into more darker colors for a Halloween, more gorier side of Halloween if that's your jam too. No judgment. It's just not my thing. So you can see here that I'm basically taking those fabric strips and I'm pleating all the way around my cones. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do 2 yellow, 2 orange, and then 2 white. And when you get to the very top of your cone, you're going to want to make sure that it's nice and finished at the top, where you're taking your time pleating it and going nice and close to the top. You're going to see it right here where I'm just kind of pushing it up towards the top. And the very last one, it's a pretty thin slit of the white because you want it to be able to come nice and close to the top. And then I'm going to add a cute button for a little bit of a nice pop at the top, a cute little detail. It was a little orange button. And then we're going to add it onto our stick and our star. Make sure it's nice and straight before you let it go so it's not crooked. And then come in with some white paint or whatever color you want to paint your star and your stick at the bottom. I went with white and I did 2 coats to finish the look. For our next DIY, we're going to be taking this wood sign that they have at the Dollar Tree. Now, I think it's cute as it is if you want to use it in like a teen's room, but I wanted to use mine for Halloween time, and my birthday is actually on Halloween, and I love Halloween, and I do decorate for Halloween, but I go very retro, whimsical looking. I like a lot of black, white, and orange, and I just love pumpkins and little kitties and cute witches with sweet faces. I don't know. Once I had it all black, I'm going to take some of my cutout vinyl from my Cricut that I cut out, and I'm just going to place those right on, and then you're set to put it out in your home and decorate with. If you are enjoying this video and you haven't yet, please do give this video a thumbs up. It really means so much to me. It actually helps out my video. It's a way to give back if you're enjoying it and you want to connect with me on a one-on-one friend level. Giving a video a thumbs up helps the algorithm see the video and that people are enjoying it, and then they recommend it to other people. So thank you so much for giving my videos thumbs up, and if you haven't, please do click that little thumb. This next project is so easy to do. We're going to take this round sign and these cute witch legs that you can get at the Dollar Tree, and we are going to snap off, or pop off, better yet, the sticks that we have on the witch's legs, and then the sign we're going to flip it over and we're going to give it a couple coats of yellow paint. Now I decided to do 3 because I really wanted the paint to be bright and to not have anything popping through from the previous backside of the sign. And then you're going to take the witch's legs and you're going to simply glue them into the place that you would like. So at this point, the yellow circle is going to look like the moon, and the witch's legs are going to be glued on super cute to the side, and you want to make sure there's enough room so that you can put a really cute saying or quote onto the side of your circle. So I'm going to sketch out the word witch because I wanted to make sure that the letters are kind of fun and, you know, got some personality and wonky looking. And then I'm going to come back in with my Dollar Tree stickers and I'm going to add in the word the, and then the words is in. So we have the sign all together that says the witch is in. And at this point, once I've got all of my letters stuck on with my stickers, I'm going to go back in with my fine tip brush and my black paint, and I'm going to just take my time just going over it and filling in where I did with my pencil lines to complete the word witch. This part is so fun, and I just made sure I took my time like I do on all of my paint with my lettering whenever I do this part. And it's so fun because you can make it as thick or whatever style you want, and I don't know, it's just me. I hope you all give it a try and do this hand painting every once in a while on your projects. If you have a Cricut or a silhouette, that's always a really great option too. Or if you have some stickers from your scrapbook collection, paper collection, that will also always work. Then when I was done, I made sure I sealed it all with Mod Podge because I wanted to make sure it had a nice seal. And then on the sides, I also added those little dash and dots. I think those are so cute. And then at the top, I added a really cute gingham bow with the Dollar Tree ribbon that I picked up this fall. Then last, I'm going to take that existing stick that we had on one of the witch's legs, and we are going to glue it right in the center. Now you could skip this part and just hang it up on your door, or you could glue it on and stake it in your garden. And then to finish it, nail it down to hold it in place. This next project is super simple and easy to accomplish. We're going to take this cutting board that you can pick up from the Dollar Tree for just $1. We're going to spray paint it orange or whatever color you want. Now I will recommend that when you spray paint it, it will want to peel off. So I ended up Mod Podging the whole thing once I got my vinyl stickers on. I went ahead and cut these out on the Cricut, and then I just stuck them on because they were so big. I didn't need to use the transfer tape. Plus I didn't want to pull up any more of that paint. Once I had those on, I went ahead and Mod Podged the whole thing, and now I'm going to decorate the top and really bring it to life. I'm going to use some of this really beautiful ribbon they have at the Dollar Tree right now, and I'm just going to twist it around on the top like a scarf, and then I'm going to add on a bow that I assembled, not the traditional way. I'll link my bow video at the end of this video if you're interested, and down below, because I have a very specific way that I do bows. I always like the tails to look really pretty and polished. Then I'm going to add on some greenery to really finish the look, and once it was all done, you can display it anywhere in your home or even in your kitchen. It's so adorable. This project is so easy. Now I know a lot of us picked these up when these were first brought out to the Dollar Tree, and they still have some of these at the Dollar Tree. I found one actually recently, so I don't know if it's an item they're carrying all the time, but I picked it up knowing that this jar could be turned into a cute pumpkin fall Halloween look, and you can do whatever colors you want. I decided to go with white on mine, but it could also be really cute if you painted it orange as well. And I'm just going to go in with a couple coats of my paint color that I desire and just follow along that line. And once it's dry, I'm going to sketch on the face that I want, a nice happy pumpkin. And once I've got all of my lines all in place, ready to go, I'm going to come back in with an angled brush and I'm going to paint in the eyes and the smile. And you could add a nose if you want. I decided not to add a nose. I don't know why. I just liked him more without him having a nose on it. And I thought that this was so sweet. And just take your time on your corners. If you make a mistake, it's not a big deal. You can always just touch it back up again because we're working with paint. Always let it dry if you want to do a touch-up. Let it dry first really well and then go back in and touch up any lines you might have accidentally gone over. Then at the top, to give it some more detail so it's not so plain, I added some twine and then little pieces of fabric cut into triangles to make a banner across the top. I thought this was a very sweet, whimsical touch to put at the top of this mason jar pumpkin. And then to finish the look, I added on a couple of twine bows on the sides to make it look so whimsical and fun. For this DIY, we're going to be using a pumpkin wood piece, this wood round, this cute little witch's hat, and then this long wooden stick, all from the Dollar Tree. Now I'm going to start by patching all of the holes to make sure that those are nice and patched, and then I'm going to take my drill. Now my drill is not that wide enough for this stick, this craft stick, so I'm kind of going around in a circle to carve out a little bit of a bigger hole. And then now it will fit in there nicely, and I'm going to just simply add in some hot glue and stick that right down in there. And then I'm going to hold it in place while it dries enough to keep it being straight. Once that was done, you can see it over there to the bottom right corner. I put it to the side because now I'm going to paint my pumpkin a really pretty rustic orange color. And I'm going to create a little box with these popsicle sticks in the back that's going to allow the pumpkin to sit on the sign and not have it fall off, because again, I just don't always trust hot glue. I wanted to give it a little casing around it to be able to really hold on to that stick. Once I had the two sides and the little top piece and then the back, it was ready for me to be able to glue it onto the stand. Now at this point, I really wanted to put this darling little hat on my pumpkin. So now I'm going to take a small piece of fabric and I'm going to wrap that around the hat of this little pumpkin. I just thought this would be such a cute little simple detail. I'm not going to put a face on my pumpkin. You totally could do that if you wanted to, but I just wanted it to just be just a pumpkin with a cute little hat on it. And I'm going to just kind of scrunch up the fabric to make it have a very textured look to it. And now I'm going to glue on this little white star because I thought that would just be so cute up on the hat. I love how it's turning out so far. And then I'm going to paint the whole base white, and as well as that little casing on the back of the pumpkin to give it a nice clean store finish look. And then I'm going to take some more of the fabric. I'm going to get a small strip of it and I'm going to wrap that around the base of the wood round. And then the last real thing I'm going to do is just add on some of this moss to really finish off the look at the bottom. And once I've got that all under control, because this stuff makes a mess when you get it out, but I love it for the fall, I'm going to add on a very loopy twine bow right underneath the pumpkin, and it's ready to be displayed for the fall. This DIY is going to be using this little hat from the Dollar Tree. It's a witch's hat and it's the most adorable size. I love that it's not too big and not too small. We're going to start by removing all of the tinsel off of this hat. Once you've removed everything, you're going to notice there's all these little bumpies that are all over it, and we're going to just snip those off. I would recommend using some pliers that can cut them off, some wire cutter pliers that will be able to cut them really easily without having any issues. Once you get it as smooth as you can, we're going to start with a base fabric. I'm going to be using this felt from the Dollar Tree, and I'm just going to hot glue it all over the hat, making sure that we have our first layer on it. This is very quick. You're just basically wrapping it and cutting off any extra that you don't want, that isn't matching the shape, and then gluing down the things that need to be glued down. So you can see here that I have some extra at the bottom, and I'm just going to take my scissors, snip away the extra so that way we have a clean line around the cone. Now we're going to go ahead and take some white burlap, and I'm going to just simply wrap it around the same exact process. And you can see why having that bottom felt piece underneath was really important, because it's going to allow it to look white underneath versus being able to see all of those lines that were originally on the form. Then I took some more of that felt. I cut out a large circle, making sure it was large enough to be able to pull up around the brim of the hat. Glued that all into place, and now I'm coming in with a long strip of the burlap. I'm going to do a really cute ruffle on it. I'm just kind of zigging and zagging back and forth until I have gotten a beautiful ruffle coming off the brim of the hat. And I'm going to do 2 layers of this ruffle because I just think it looks so full and beautiful. Now this is really easy to do. I'm not even pleating, I'm just kind of gathering and kind of bunching it up onto the hot glue. And I'm using these finger protectors that they have at the Dollar Tree. Whenever I work with burlap, I do use these because the hot glue can seep through the holes of the burlap. Then at the end, you're going to cut off the extra, fold that last of it underneath, and then tuck it and glue it into place. Now we're going to create this part around the base of the hat, and we are going to wrap it around, and it's going to be a little bit loose, and that's okay because we want to have a little bit of a ruffle effect on that as well. So you can see here I cut off the extra, and I tucked the extra piece underneath this flap that's coming around the whole thing. And I'm just going to glue that right down into place, and that creates the cutest little finish on the side of the hat. I love how that turned out. Now we're going to take the yarn that I picked up from the Dollar Tree as well, and I'm going to just start to spin it around the middle of that fabric, and I'm going to just keep playing with it, gluing it in little spots here and there to hold it into place. And then once that's tied and glued down, I can start embellishing. I'm going to put on some different buttons that are peachy colors and orange with white stars, and then a darling little spider that's black on it. I think this project turned out so adorable, and I hope you will give it a try. This project is going to cost me just $3 to make. I'm going to be using this hula grass skirt, this wood round, and a dowel from a plunger, all from the DT. Now start by heating up that sticker on the wooden dowel and just peel it off simply and easily. Without the heat gun, these stickers are a nightmare to take off, and there will be a little bit of sticky residue, and I like to just sand it off, but you could use some Goo Gone on it. Then I went ahead and took some wood putty and filled the hole and grabbed my countersink drill bit to drill down into that wood round, so that way I can drill a hole and sink my screw down in there so it will sit nicely on a table without scratching a table. I also drilled a hole in the wood handle for the plunger stick, the dowel, so that way that the screw could be able to be threaded all the way through the wood round and the dowel without it causing anything to crack or splinter. Now I am a little comfortable when it comes to my drill, so if you do not feel comfortable holding things while you're screwing them, definitely mount them in your wood area that you have where you can do this, mount it down and allow you to be able to drill things in properly. I, again, just feel really comfortable with my drill, so I wanted to make sure I made that very clear. Do not hold it like this if you do not feel comfortable. Then I'm going to simply take that hula skirt, and I love the hula skirt for this particular project because we're going to just simply wrap it around the dowel and make sure you leave a spot where you can take some twine, and you're just going to wrap that around really tightly and then tie a simple bow. And you can use whatever ribbon you want for this, but I went with twine because I wanted to have a very natural look to it. I'm going for very earthy tones for this project. You could also stain or paint the wooden dowel whatever colors you want. And then I'm going to add a little dot of hot glue behind the bow loops so that it holds that bow in place. And now we're going to just give it a haircut. I'm going to be keeping and holding on to the rest of this because I'm actually going to use this raffia for another project. And then once I pushed that off to the side, I went ahead and came back up to the top of that hula skirt, and I'm going to cut off the excess where that twine was wrapped with the raffia to hold it all in place. And after that, it is the most darling witch broom you've ever seen for just $3. For this DIY project, I am using 4 sticks that are long from outside. These come down all the time from our tree, and I just save them, the long skinny ones that are straight as possible. And I'm going to be using some yarn and some zip ties from the Dollar Tree. I love projects like this because, well, they're pretty much pennies to make, and it has such a fun impact for holiday decor. So what I'm doing is I've got all of my long sticks out separate to create the start of the spider web. I'm taking the zip ties, I'm going in between each joint that is opened like a V, and I'm zip tying all of them so they're nice and strong. Then I'm going to take a long piece of the yarn and I'm going to just wrap it around to conceal and hide all of those zip ties. Now this is the back side, so you're not going to see those, but the front side is all nice and covered. Now what I'm doing is I'm taking my yarn, I'm going across the twig, wrapping under and coming back up, going to the next one, wrapping around the top of it, coming under, and then I'm going to go over to the next one. And I'm going to just continue to do that all the way around all of these 4 sticks, that when they're out in a circle they actually make 8 legs. Then I'm going to, when I get to the end of making that first circle, I shift up just a little bit, ever so slightly, and I keep doing that as I'm coiling all the way around. I never break my yarn, I just keep coiling and coiling and shifting up a little bit further each time, and then I wrap it around and go to the next one, wrap it around, go to the next one. Now when you get to the end and you decide how big you want it to be, you're going to go ahead and take your yarn, cut the end, and then you're going to take the end and loop it around and do a little slip knot. And then I'm going to just take some hot glue and put a little dollop of it on it to make sure that's locked into place. And then the extra of the yarn, we're going to want to cut that off just to make sure it has a nice clean finished look. Then what we're going to do is we're going to shorten some of those branches so they're not too long. For the thicker branches, I'm just using my wire cutters to dig down in there, and then I put my hand on it, it'll snap pretty easy. The smaller ones snap without a problem. Then to complete the look, I added on 4 little spiders, and it was ready to hang up on my front door. This project only cost me $2, and I wouldn't even say it was that because this was scrap fabric that I had from a previous project. So we are going to take some paint, whatever color you want. I'm going to go with this deep burnt orange color, and we are going to not necessarily dry brush, but it's the same technique, is where you are working the paint by rubbing your paintbrush into the fabric, and it will start to pick up all of that color into the fabric. Now the more you do it, the stronger the color gets, but I wanted mine to look old and rustic for the fall. So I'm now, once it's all dry, going to come back in with my jumbo permanent marker from the DT, and I'm going to draw on a face of a little pumpkin that's just so happy. And then once it's all done being drawn on, I'm going to take my hot glue, and you could sew this. I'm a big fan of sewing. I know some of you on here don't know how to sew, so I wanted to show that hot gluing is definitely an option. But make sure when you hot glue that you massage the glue into the fabric, and I would definitely recommend protecting your finger on this part because the hot glue can come through the fabric since it's got such a meshy feel to it. It can come through and burn you. Once the hot glue is all dried and everything is locked into place, you can go ahead and take your little gunny sack pumpkin and you can flip it around. This turned into the easiest project, and it is just so darling, and you can make these in any size that you want with any scrap fabric you have. I decided on the smaller one not to do a face on it, so I have one with a face and one without, and now we're just going to simply stuff them, and we are going to just use some batting. I actually buy this particular batting at the end of every single Christmas season when they're getting rid of all of their fake snow, and I get a deal of a deal. That's how I always end up picking up this for so cheap. I think I bought a giant bag for like $1.50, $2, which batting normally can be very expensive. Then I'm going to take some twine from the DT, and I'm going to bundle it up at the top, and then I'm going to take that twine and I'm just going to wrap it around nice and tight, but not too tight because we're going to be putting a little stick down in there. But before I do that, I decided I wanted to add on a nice double knot to keep it in place. And then I also wanted to make a thicker bow. So how I do this, I take my 4 fingers and I wrap the twine around about 5 or 6 times so it's nice and thick. I tie a knot so it keeps them all in place. And then with some hot glue, I just go ahead and glue that right on where I had the other knot, and it really just makes it look so high-end with this thick, beautiful bow on here. Now I go ahead and I hot glue my twig down in there that I found in my garden, trim down the top just a little bit so I can see the twig. I don't want it to be covering too much of that. And then the last is just to add on a leaf that I had in a scrap pile of a bunch of past florals that I used from picks. This DIY is so much fun. It can be a little advanced, but I'm going to try to slow all the steps down to show you everything. I'm going to start with this scrap piece of fabric that I have here, and I'm only going to glue about 3 inches up on each side, and then I'm going to gather in the bottom, add in some hot glue, take some yarn, wrap it around, and tie a knot. I'm going to then repeat the same thing on the other side because we're bundling up the ends. Think of almost like a lumbar pillow. That's kind of what we're doing at this point, but we're going to end up filling it and stuffing it and turning it into the most darling stand-up pumpkin decor that is so whimsical and just happy. When I look at it, I just get so happy. So now what I'm going to do, now that I flipped it inside out, I'm going to go ahead and bring up the sides just a little bit more on the bottom part because I'm going to go ahead and open it up and I'm going to drop in some of these glass beads. This is what's going to help it stand up and be able to be sturdy at the bottom. So you can see here that that's where the bundle is that I gathered together, and then I put in all of those glass beads, and now I'm moving on to starting to stuff it. We want to make sure that it's stuffed really well, but not too full that you can't do the next step. Enough to be able to shift around the batting that's on the inside. Then I start to lessen the opening by gluing the sides up a little bit more, stuff in the last of that stuffing, And then I start to kind of roll it and play with it. And you can see there that I still have it not fully sealed yet. I'm going to go ahead and do the bottom part of my pumpkin snowman body. And I'm going to twist it really tight and then tie a knot. Then once I've got that knot in place, I went ahead and closed the last of the hole, making sure that I had enough batting in there. That's why I wanted to keep it open until I got the bottom part done on the pumpkin. And I'm going to go ahead and find where his middle of his body is going to be and his head. So again, I'm going to just keep playing with it until I find a nice middle spot for me to squeeze and tie on that yarn nice and tight. And you can see at this point I've got my 3 different sections. At this point you're going to massage it to make sure everything looks nice and round or lumpy, whichever you want. You could make a really lumpy pumpkin. And then what I do here is I actually add some hot glue all around inside that yarn where I tied it, and I'm going to compress the fabric down. So at this point it's going to squish the pumpkin, and this is where he's really going to take life and start to look like a little pumpkin. You can see right here as I'm holding it together and letting the hot glue dry, it looks like the 3 sections of a snowman pumpkin. Then at this point we could start embellishing it. I put a branch up at the top. I added on some buttons for his tummy. And then because it's a little pumpkin snowman, I'm going to go ahead and use some black felt and my tiny little scissors to go ahead and cut out a smile and a triangle for his nose, and I'm going to glue that on into place, making sure they're nice and secure. And then I'm going to move on to adding on a scarf. I'm going to go with this black and white buffalo check, and I always like to manipulate where my scarf is going because I want to be able to see the buttons. I don't want it to be flapping in a weird place. This is also a really great time to be able to cover up anything that maybe you don't want to see, like some hot glue that where the seam is. I'm going to just pull that over and just play with it until I get it to where I want it to be. Then I'm going to add on some button eyes. And at this point, he is just such a cute little snowman pumpkin. And I'm going to come into the arm area, cut a tiny little hole, and then wiggle in some sticks. The best way to do this is just a tiny hole, work in that stick, and then add some hot glue to let the glue wrap around the arm and pleat around the fabric so it really holds it into place. Then I thought I would embellish it just a little bit more. You could stop there or go a little further, which is what I love to do here on my channel. I decided to add on a little green heart on the side because this particular inspiration with the green heart was something that I had seen on Pinterest that someone had made a long time ago. I thought that would be so cute to add that onto this little pumpkin. And then up at the top, I'm going to add on the same fabric for the heart, but I'm making a little leaf up at the top and I'm going to glue it up there, as well as I'm going to bring in another leaf that I had left over from a pick because I saw it sitting there and I thought, you know what, I'm going to use that too. And I like the contrast between the 2 different green tones. So I just cut off one of the leaves and just pinched it into place. And then right at the joint of those leaves that come onto the branch, the top of the pumpkin, the stem, I'm going to go ahead and add on some star buttons because I just love these star buttons. And then the last is to just pick off any hot glue and he's ready to be displayed. Friends, that is it for today. I hope you felt inspired by these fun 6 projects and you'll give some of them a try. Leave a comment down below to let me know which one you really liked, which one you think you will try. And I'm going to recommend a couple of videos here at the end that have come out over this last week. Thank you so much for stopping by, and until the next episode, bye friends.